It's Rut and River.
Yes.
Correct.
R-U-T.
I rest my beard hair on it.
And then you know you're there.
Like a nice, gentle little pillow for my beard.
Right.
And then I'm all up in it.
Oh.
I'm like Kobe beef for sharks.
Can I ask you, what made you guys call me up about, well, this?
That's what tickles our fancy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thought the Rocky Mountains would be rockier.
John Denver is not accurate.
A guy like you, who has absolutely no clue, and I can hear it in your voice, that, I mean, you're a blank canvas. I mean, I can just start with you like from scratch.
You're going to tell me, a grown man, you're telling me what lure to use and how to fish?
You guys didn't snap your whopper plopper off either, though.
Sorry,
I blew up over that.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Rut and River Pursuits podcast. Tonight, we are gathered around the Sonic Campfire, and we have an epic guest to bring you.
Man, that one lit off tonight. It's hot. Love it.
We just filled the tanks.
Yeah.
It is
Fresh tank.
Oh, yeah.
That's what gasoline will do, too.
That's natural gas. All natural.
Well, excuse me. I did have some Mexican earlier.
Propane,
Tex-Mex,
accessories. But
it's close enough. Yeah. Who do we have tonight?
I'm Steve.
I'm Will.
It's Bucky.
Hey, I'm Ryan.
This is Dave.
And I'm Kyle. Guys, we have a pretty exciting guest tonight.
I think this is the third time you said it.
I can't contain my excitement.
He's so excited.
And he just can't hide it.
Oh, and
I
it's
can't hide it.
embarrassing.
He's about to lose control, but I think he likes it.
Oh, you know he likes it.
So, someone is in studio.
Studio.
Get on with it.
Can we? Yeah, let's get him to talk.
It's gonna. All right. Who do we? I was gonna say caller, but
Go ahead, caller.
go ahead, caller.
I forget how. My name's
Guys,
Andy.
no, really, guys, this is a big show. We're going to talk a lot about trapping and trapping things. And,
Oh yeah, those two go hand in hand.
Yeah.
This is a subject
We
I
got
can't
the guy.
wait. Mr. Andy Spittle.
What's up, buddy?
Kid.
Welcome, Andy.
The
Andy,
kid.
not the Andrew.
The kid, Andy Spittle.
Yeah.
I like that handle, bud.
Appreciate it.
Can we?
How did that?
My
happen?
mama gave it to
The
me.
kid,
Mama.
Andy Spittle?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
I think he called you the kid, bud.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a compliment.
It is a
Thank you.
compliment.
Yeah.
Since I'm the silverback.
It's your youthful appearance.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're my boy now.
Andy,
Yes, sir.
you're one heck of a trapper.
I try.
Young trapper.
And we don't mean a keeper.
Dang it, Bucky.
Why
Man, thanks, 1980s.
Wow.
Sorry.
don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of how you got so involved into trapping?
All right. Pretty much started out when my dad could carry me more than I could walk. We started trapping in the back of the farm, muskrat lodges on the marsh, and some coon trapping, and been doing that for, well, shucks, a little over 30 years.
Holy cats!
Wow.
So you've been doing this since you were 2?
Pretty much like 3 or 4. Yeah, that's when we started getting after it.
I was going to say 30 years. You can't be a day over, what, 32, 33?
35.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Not too far off.
Dude doesn't say his real age.
Wow.
He is. He ain't kidding. 30 years. Golly.
Yep. Yep.
That's a lifetime, literally.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's what makes it cool. Is it has become a part of who I am, who my family is. I make my paycheck from trapping. Do wildlife.
Yeah, that's what I was
control
about to
as a
say.
job.
You actually are 100% trapper. Like that is your
Legit.
day job.
Yeah,
So
legit.
like, why don't we walk through your day job at least?
Work for a private company, S&S Wildlife Control, and pretty much, you catch critters that are in people's backyards or in their houses that they don't want. You go from mice all the way to foxes, coyotes, beaver. We do bat exclusion work.
What you do? What?
Wait a minute.
You have a house that bats are living in. You go there. You assess the house.
Oh, bats. Like
Yes.
The,
Yes,
oh,
sir.
The
oh,
bat
sir.
and the belfry.
like Dracula.
Yeah,
Like
no,
bat
no,
Like the Bat Cave.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about
No.
baseball bats.
I like those. I don't want to get rid of those.
So what? I'm sorry. You were saying you you're doing bat exclusion work.
Yeah, you go
I
to a
gotta
house
hear
and-
about this. What's the last bat exclusion job
Well,
you did?
I just went out to Fort Loudon today for a lady that just bought a house. They thought they had flying squirrels because she had one show up in
Yeah.
the living space.
Oh, then you just got.
Yeah, I
he's
know.
all-
Kyle
just up
he's
like a.
Perked up like Bucky at
Little
an
shook.
aquarium.
It's
You
okay,
gotta
kid.
give me some pointers for those flying squirrels, Andy.
Rat traps.
I told you that last week.
You did not. You were still talking about your bee problem.
Anyways,
No, you go to the house, you assess the house for any entry potential that's there, and basically you're looking at material intersections of a house. So where the fascia meets the roof, where the soffit meets the vertical walls, it's pretty straightforward if you look at it that way. And from there, you're putting a list together, taking pictures, and put an estimate together and send it to
checking
the
it
customer.
twice.
Absolutely, yeah. Santa Claus knows what's up.
I used to
Who's
get.
naughty or nice?
I had
Or mice.
a banged up door in my
Ooh, I
basement,
see what you did
and I used to get snakes.
Yeah.
Like little snakes in
here
my
we go
basement.
again.
And I was always-
Oh my god!
do the same
That sounds
thing.
like
I
a
don't
personal
understand.
problem,
I
Stevie.
know, but I've never
Snakes
been
were-
able to ask
Snakes
this
were
to
getting in
someone
his
that-
beehole.
I hate
Yeah.
that movie. That movie gives me the creeps.
let me
Snakes
get-
in my basement.
Yeah, let me just tell you how this ends. Snakes got in my beehole.
I'm so sorry to hear that. kid.
Anyways, if someone gets a snake in their basement,
Yeah.
how do you get it out?
We use glue boards.
But what if it's like a big snake?
You can catch a 4.5 foot black snake on a glue board and hold
On a-
him. Yeah.
A big, I guess that's a big glue.
Yeah, you're using I think they're a foot by 18 inches.
Oh man, my kids would get hung up in that.
I've got the back of my hand in one
Really?
time, and it's a pain to get them out.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not pleasant.
Is there any other soliciting advice that you want to, home improvement?
Carpenter bees.
Don't do that.
Nothing. All right,
But I
no,
don't
I'm good
advertise
then.
that I do either.
I'm good.
You don't do insects then, Andy?
No, absolutely not. That's a whole different ballpark
It's
to
like-
play
all
in.
right. So it's kind of like your rule book. I don't do insects.
No. If it's
No.
got a backbone, I can catch it.
Gotcha.
Yep.
All right.
So besides your day job of being a trapper, you're also a educator in trapping.
Absolutely.
So I mean, we've been to events where you've been at. Do you want to dive into that for us?
That's absolutely my favorite part is to try and promote and educate. Trapping, as I see it, still has a very bad rap compared to most of the other outdoor sports, and I very much do my best, along with a lot of other people that I know and am friends with, to try and promote what the sport truly is all about and the benefits from it. National Turkey Federation's Jake's Day is where I met most of you guys.
Right.
And what a great opportunity to share, because that's a give and take. To be able to trap the predators and the animals that eat the turkey eggs helps check and balance. And that is exactly what trapping is. It's a check and balance. It's the best form of population control that Mother Nature has. And that is exactly what I want to portray every time I'm at a show.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a group of people, probably a group of people that you just never convince, that trapping, is the right thing to do. But for someone that might be on the fence,
Those people don't have infestation,
Well,
they don't-
I'm sure
might not
that.
understand
Or
that.
livestock.
Yeah.
I said to Catfish, I said that if I had a goal for tonight, it would be to make Stevie Miser a trapper.
really,
Yeah, absolutely. Because I would, no offense, I would assume you're the farthest from it in the group, possibly.
probably, yeah. I trap minnows from time to time,
You're a trapper.
They call him
Wow.
the shad harasser.
crabs.
That's right.
Yeah, dude. Crab trapping.
Crab trapping is still trapping, man.
It's still
Honestly, I mean, trapping mice in your own house is still trapping. I do that. Like, I go to people's houses and get paid to catch mice because they don't want to do it.
That's true.
So
No kidding.
legit
Oh, I love
on a
doing
small
that at
little
my
level,
house.
on a small little level like that, you're a trapper. So
All right, so let's say that I'm, just an average outdoors person, and when I think of trapping, I just think of something small, furry guy stuck in a trap somewhere, and I don't understand the mechanics. I don't understand the reality of it. How would you convince me that this is this is good. This is a good thing to do.
Well, that's even amongst my own circle of friends. I have friends that just don't see it as ethical because you walk up to an animal point blank, helpless, and shoot it.
Yeah.
It's in a trap all night, which, the very first and foremost thing is I can't get by the ethics, because there's nothing more ethical than a quick shot to the head to take out an animal. Back in your first season, you talked to Aaron Ohl, and I love that episode. Aaron said that in order to hunt with a rifle, you have to be about 100 yards away from an animal. In order to bow hunt, you have to be about 25 yards away, 50 yards away. In order to trap, you've got to put an animal in a spot that is that big, an inch or two. You've got to make that animal's foot go exactly where it's at. So, the ethics and everything like that, you go out and you put your tree stand in the woods where you think you're going to get a deer. I go out and put my trap where I think I'm going to catch an animal. I see absolutely no difference.
Right.
Okay? And as far as the animal's comfort, there are rules and regulations in place to try and minimize that as much as possible. And trappers go the extra effort. My dad and many others are modifying traps to have an extra lamination on the jaw to make that jaw thickness twice as heavy. So it's, instead of pinching a little bit of skin on the back of your arm, it's like somebody grabbing you with their whole hand. I mean, you can equate the difference there.
Sure.
Extra swivels in the chain, which is a big thing, because if that chain binds, that animal fights that trap and can break their foot. There are many efforts made to minimize the damage done to the animal.
It's all about the conservation, and it truly is. Like, you guys are always, it's still on the side of sportsmanship.
It's also trappers that are out there trying to educate. It's not the Game Commission going out there and trying to lobby on behalf of trappers. Many Game Commission officers and other law enforcement people come to us to get that education.
Which is, I mean, it's hugely important, and I appreciate what you're doing, Andy, because, Stevie, as you were saying, like, the average outdoorsman, I'll make it even broader, just the average person.
Yeah.
The image in their mind when they think of a trap is literally a cartoon caricature of a foothold trap with the teeth.
Yeah.
Right? That's not what a foothold trap is anymore.
Not at all.
It doesn't look like that.
No.
So what you're doing to educate the people and understanding, like you said about putting the extra swivels in the chain so that the animal won't break its foot. 90% of people, when they think of trapping, as soon as that trap closes, the foot's broke in their mind.
Yeah.
That's the idea. You can actually catch a non-target species and release it, and it's completely unharmed. Yeah. And you mentioned something at the beginning, Andy, where you talked about, the animal spending the night in the trap.
Yep.
There are rules and regulations that trappers are required to follow. You have to check your traps daily.
Every 24 hours.
And most of your trappers are checking them twice a day.
I shouldn't say that. It is the law is every 36 hours. Any good trapper with his salt is getting up in the morning. It's the first thing you do.
Run the line.
You run your traps every single day. There's provisions in place, and certainly logic comes into play. But if you cannot physically do it yourself, you get somebody to do it.
Just super quick question, and it might be a rabbit hole, and I'm sorry. But when you're checking your traps that often, how do you minimize your scent? You just walk away from it as far as possible and binos, or what? I don't know. Like, that kind of just...
That's a great question.
It blows my mind that you're checking traps, but you're also in the area of where you want to be, and they don't want to... They're gonna smell you.
It's a very over exaggerated and overstated thing in trapping, but it is also a very, very personal thing. There are guys that are very nuts about scent control, the same way I am about my archery hunting, and you guys are too.
Right.
But then there's other guys that'll totally debunk that. I mean, I know I've got to talk to people that catch 400 coyotes a year.
Zest soap and some Axe body spray.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that man drives with his same trapping gloves on. Liesel Roussat. he caught 400 and some coyotes in 1 year out in North Dakota and South Dakota, and he drives with the same gloves he sets his traps with.
Wow.
It's ridiculous. So to minimize scent control is a joke. You're talking about an animal that smells, and you guys were talking about that parts per billion or whatever. No. For us in our trap line, you're looking at just driving as close as you can. If there's nothing in the trap, keep on walking, keep on driving, whatever. Many of our lines we do over a 4-wheeler, and you're trapping on farms.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's farm equipment, there's people, there's all kind of stuff all the time. It's ridiculous to think that you can keep the nose of a critter, keep you out of the nose of a critter.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah, makes sense.
So why trap? Like,
it is
why
the
trap?
best form of population control that Mother Nature has, period. I can put as many traps out as I can possibly put out in a day and have farms to do so on and catch as an unlimited number of critters. I mean, there's a few animals in our state that we have a season and bag limit on.
Sure.
But I can catch as many foxes my ambition will let me.
Boy, wow, what a great answer, because that never struck me as a reason. I mean,
and that's the other thing. I mean, there's no better way. There's not a better way that we can think of on this planet to help, control a population of whatever, and trapping is the way.
Right.
You can't hunt in the traditional sense and hope to make a dent.
Absolutely.
So,
that's correct.
I want to jump in here, and
Please do,
Here
Bob.
comes an 80s alert, too.
what?
An 80s alert.
Like Max Headroom?
Yeah, because maybe even back to the 70s.
Oh, man.
Because
Ooga chaka.
what I'm about to say is my earliest memory of like what a hunter was in this country goes back to the era where you weren't a hunter or you're a trapper, you were a hunter-trapper, right? Like Denver Pyle and Grizzly Adams. With old number 7,
Yeah.
The guy with number 7, the mule that he brought along, and he always showed up and helped Grizzly with whatever.
Yeah,
and he was a hunter trapper. He was a mountain man.
Right.
You skin Grizz?
Yeah, exactly. Skin Grizz, that guy. I mean, those are the men in. They're hunter trappers. They're the ones that was their living. They hunted for food for the forts, and they trapped for their own pocket and to trade. And how much more American? I mean, that's even before America. That's frontiersmen. That's
colonial. One of the reasons why that's one of the reasons why America was founded. I mean, the whole beaver trapping industry.
You're doing the other 180 degrees that hunters are doing. Really, I mean, the first 180 degrees is hunting. The other is trapping, and then it's the full circle.
Well, like I said, it's all
the full
different
package.
I think
actually,
it's all geometry.
That's 360.
Did I borderline math on us?
You had to do math in order to complete that thought.
I apologize, everybody. I broke my own rule.
Should probably start podcasting in the mornings instead of the evenings.
I apologize.
Good podcasters podcast like check their pods twice a day.
I probably should.
Andy, what's your favorite thing to trap?
Raccoons.
Raccoons.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I hate it as a job. I have a fascination with that critter. I really do. I hate it as a job because it's just the ones that find a way to get into somebody's house I have a little bit of respect for. But the ones in the creek and along the river, I love to catch. Okay. I have no idea why that is, but it just...
I wish you'd leave us all alone.
I'm sorry.
Oh, taking it personal.
One thing about like raccoons is, I mean, maybe it's just a now, like the time we're in with the price. It's kind of like bass fishing, like tournament bass fishing, where you're looking for the bigger one and letting go yearlings or smaller ones because you want that extra large fur because that's going to be the better amount.
Yes.
And I find that very interesting.
Can we jump to that? Now you just brought something up.
Yeah.
How do you so you can release some of these things?
Absolutely, and that is encouraged in today's market because, matter of fact, there's no market for raccoons. I mean, we look to probably give somebody a single dollar bill on the meat this year at the shop, and the later in the season it gets, and maybe a few get sold, we'll maybe bump that to a whopping $2.
Is there anyone eating meat?
Down south, that's a tremendous market.
I was gonna say.
I have friends that go down south to trap, and they are probably getting $4 a piece for their carcasses, cleaned and put on ice. That's all you have to do.
Yeah,
gut them and put them on ice. It is not a very big market up here.
Gotcha.
It really isn't.
Did you ever eat it?
No, actually, I have not.
I never have either. Just wondered.
I mean, we could sous vide
I've tried it. Again,
apparently roasting is like a preferred way.
Any kind of meat cooked the right way, you can eat.
From field to plate.
Mm-hmm.
Check that guy out and
Jeremiah.
see if he's,
Yeah. So sorry, we derailed that question, but how are you physically releasing these animals?
I think that's
The
fascinating
easiest way-
because it is like something that you don't have to take that animal just because it's in your trap. You know?
Right.
That's
And some things are out of season, like a bobcat.
Absolutely.
If you don't have a bobcat permit, or you filled your bobcat permit, if you catch a second one, you have to release it. So
I hate to be that dude.
Exactly.
I've actually done it
Especially
a couple of
if you're in a
times.
telephone booth.
Yeah, I was in my teens. My dad got a call from a local trapper. I think he was trapping up in Dolphin, and caught a bobcat, and had no clue what to do with it. And he had us come out, and
I bet
we put a snare pole, front leg and neck, and a snare pole on the other back leg, and got that thing out of there, and totally cool. We released one when I was pretty little up in Lycoming County that we caught. There was no season then.
Meow.
Did you ever see? Did you ever see the trick that they do with the like a little kid's plastic swimming pool?
Absolutely, that is an awesome way to do it.
Yeah.
But if
explain that, please, because I don't know about it.
I didn't think
plastic
cats
swimming
like
pool,
water.
trash bucket,
Oh, they hate water.
or a piece of plywood with a notch cut out in it. You basically just try and get everything but you try and get everything but the pawl that the trap is on the opposite side of that, or in the container, whatever, and then just the foot with the trap is exposed, and
they'll pull
that's
it
slick.
back.
Yeah,
They'll pull it right back into where you have them.
Well, it's not even about that, but I mean the business end is contained
and not coming after you. Exactly. But they can still retract their leg back in.
Yeah. As soon as that trap's off, it's back to business for them. Yeah. They don't mind that for more than an hour. I mean, we have tons of friends that do live market trapping for coyotes and bobcats down south, and there cannot be a single scratch on those feet, and they get paid pretty nice for them.
Wow.
Now, live market trapping, what is that?
They are trapping for fox pen hunts, the traditional hunts on horseback and everything like that. They'll use coyotes for that. The bobcats, I would assume, are the same. But it is mostly the coyotes and the foxes that they're doing that with, and they do the traditional horseback hunts.
So that has to add a whole nother.
We need to talk to some of those dudes. How far are they chasing coyotes?
Well, they're I mean, I've never.
Fox is one thing, but a coyote.
I've never participated in any of that.
I want to talk to the live trappers. How do you get a live animal out of the trap into a cage or something?
Coyotes are so submissive. As soon as you walk up to a coyote in a trap,
down.
Exactly. No joke. No joke. I mean, 9 out of 10 are just going to lay down, and that's the end of it.
Wow. Cover their eyes.
You're naughty.
What's that?
I said cover their eyes.
I don't even think they do. I mean, they pretty much just snare pull them, stick them in a cage, and get them back to They use feed bins, and they just put them in feed bins. But they've got to have their toenails cut back. They've got to have shots. They've got to be looked over. If there's any type of damage, that animal's just harvested for the pelt, and
take him
that's
to the
it.
vet
Yeah,
first.
because
wow,
it's almost as much of a process as taking a dog to a vet. Yeah, they're very meticulous with what they do.
So, Andy, coming back full circle to your education
360?
part.
Whole 360.
Yeah,
So you
full-
never, just making sure.
I wasn't very good at
coming
math
back
either.
180 plus another 180.
That's,
That'd be 360, bud.
to the education. So if somebody new like Stevie wants to get started trapping, what would you recommend as kind of the progression for him to get started?
You know, you find us through, I don't know, a lot of YouTube and everything like that nowadays. And
that's how Ryan starts everything.
My dad would hate me for
YouTube's.
saying that, but I mean, YouTube is a wealth of information, but it's not always good information, unfortunately. And I watched a lot of the Leatherwood Outdoors guys. That's awesome content.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome content. And those guys are legit trappers. I really like them. I don't know them at all, but I follow them and am very much in favor of what they post.
Mm-hmm.
I like the way they do it. I've seen some stuff on YouTube that I would just as soon have not been posted. Your question was how to get involved and how to get started. My dad and I do trapper training school in our county, which is Dauphin County, but there are gentlemen that do pretty much every county. You can find a trapper training school, which is a one-day hands-on event. That's something that
Is that enough time to get started?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. But the coolest thing about trapping is whether you set one trap or 100 traps, you're a trapper.
Right.
And if you've got enough of skills or enough of ambition, I think trapping in its earliest stages is a pretty easy learn.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get down to the real nuances of it, when you want to be the guy that catches 100 fox a year or a Phil Brown that catches 1,200 fox in a year, you know,
That guy's on the Eastern Shore, right?
Yeah.
The 1,200
he's-
fox.
yeah,
so
he's-
like we're not talking like
no, that's
huge,
that's
huge area.
No,
That's a
that's
couple counties.
Lancaster, Chester, Bucks. I mean, that man is legit as the day
Yeah.
is long. He's a great trapper. But it is
He
his
spending more time
yes,
than others?
absolutely.
Okay. Or just better. That's what I was trying to get at.
Both.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
The funniest thing is, you know, the majority of canine trapping is done with dirt hole set. So you dig a hole in the dirt and you put a trap in front of it. That sounds easy, but there are so many variations of a dirt hole set that it would make your head spin. And I was out at the Trappers College and was taught by Gary Jepson and Tim Julian and some major trappers. And
Trappers College.
yeah, absolutely. Indiana.
I went to TU.
TC, bud. It's not Trapper
Trappers
University.
No, it's Trappers
I went
College.
to the University of.
Oh, you went
you
to
got
the-
shortchanged. You didn't get your money's
he had
worth.
some post-grad work.
Well, he
at
had-
the university.
Started.
He had to go to the state,
He got some
state
loans.
school.
You learned,
La-di-da.
Yeah,
you
he
learned
got
from the
some
guys that
loans
only
and
caught
grants,
50
bud.
a season.
I started out
Yeah.
at Trapper Community College.
Yeah, that's all I could afford.
Got a
Yeah.
couple credits.
Transfer.
All I could get some online.
University of Phoenix Trapper School.
No, it-
And Rangoon, University of Rangoon Night School.
Yeah.
where were we?
You're talking about the Trappers College.
You went to Trappers College.
I did do that.
Dirt hole sets.
Dirt hole sets is where we were at. To have a professional trapper teach you what you've done wrong by digging a hole in the dirt and putting a trap in front of it is pretty interesting.
Why don't you walk through a typical, like a very generic dirt hole set?
Like something from a community college, not necessarily like the
The
college.
Trapper
university.
University. Yeah.
On a community college level, all the way up to your master's degree, location is the most important thing about trapping. So if you do not put your trap where you're going to catch an animal, where an animal's already traveling, you're not going to catch anything. So picking a location is first. Putting your nose into the wind when you dig the hole is important as well, because you want that wind drift to come over the hole instead of blowing the scent
Because you
back
are going to
in.
use a scented bait
Absolutely
in the
yeah.
dirt hole.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So you're looking at a hole that you can possibly get 8 to 10 inches deep, and when you bed your trap, the most important thing is to make sure 100% that trap cannot wiggle at all. if a fox or a coyote comes up and steps anywhere but the pan of the trap and that trap wiggles, then they are going to assume it's food or just something out of their curiosity is going to cause them to dig that
So
out.
you're going to dig out an area for the trap to lay in. That's going to be your bed for the trap.
That's correct.
Then you're going to put dirt over top, and you want that to be compact but able to the pan to be able to move.
Yeah.
The pan's the middle of it?
Like the trigger.
Yes,
center of the
that is the trigger of the trap, the pan of the trap, and you know, for most foothold traps, that's probably about 1.5 inches in diameter.
Okay.
Okay, so that's how critical you got to
Wow.
be. You know,
Wow.
yeah. Set a tree stand
Holy
at 25
buckets.
yards, kill a deer. Make a fox or a coyote step in 1.5 inches where they can go wherever they darn well please.
But the
Right.
dirt hole is the attractant. That's the focal point to get the critter there.
That's the idea behind that set. A fox will steal from another fox. A coyote will steal from another fox. When they eat, they gorge themselves. They'll go puke up some of that into a hole and bury it. Okay? So you're mimicking what another fox or a coyote did and then playing to the idea that another one's going to come along to steal that.
Like your dog will bury a bone.
Yes.
Just because he doesn't want other people to get after it or dogs or whatever.
So
Right.
So you're using some type of bait.
Yeah, there's baits and then there's lures. Baits are usually meat based, and you're playing to the food senses of the animal, the hunger senses of the animal.
Okay.
If you use lures, there's different categories of lures. You have sexual attractant lures, urine, anything like that, glands. You have curiosity lures, which that can be something as simple as cologne. Third category would be food then as well. You can have a food-based lure, which is totally different than a bait.
Like a human food, like a
No.
Italian sub or
Kettle corn.
Meats the bulls.
Any type of like what we do with all of our skunks, when we scrape a skunk pelt, we save all of that fat because there is a certain amount of skunk essence even in that fat. It'll smell like a skunk. And that is a really, really good bait for your cold weather canine trapping.
Really?
Absolutely, yeah. We save every bit of that. That gets Ziploc bagged and froze.
Does that carry further? Because just in general, like as a human, you can smell a skunk.
Absolutely.
10 miles away.
Exactly.
The
and then
colder the weather, the louder you need to be with your bait or lure.
Okay.
So in the cold weather months, we'll use something like like a skunk essence. There's several commercial made baits that have a skunk essence to them, and that's a really loud smell that cuts through that cold air.
Do you do anything with signpost type sets? Like in conjunction with the dirt hole, you've got a signpost.
Absolutely, and signpost, urine post, scent post, all same thing. Anytime Dad and I trap together, we fall off the four-wheeler on either side. I make a dirt hole set. That's just my thing. I make a step-down version of a dirt hole set. That's my go-to. But my dad makes a flat set or a urine post set. And basically that is an oddity in the travel way of the animal that you're after. So it can be the biggest green clump of grass on a 2-track. It can be a couple of corn stalks and a corn cob that have just kind of made themselves a nice spot in the middle of a crop change or something like that, whatever it is. But it's an oddity in their travel route.
And the way I understand it, that's like if you think about the
fire hydrant.
traditional thing with the dog is, they always pee on the fire hydrant.
Mailbox.
It's
On
the
your
same
sidewalk.
thing, when you're setting traps for canine, that signpost, that clump of grass, that rock in the middle of the field, that couple of stalks of corn that didn't get cut.
That's correct.
Every canine that passes by that is
gonna go check
going
it
to
out.
try to pee on it.
Yep.
It's just what they do.
That makes sense.
Yep.
So where do you put the
Like
bait?
R. Kelly.
Wow, you've explained my dog so well so far. I love this. Keep going.
Where do you put the bait, Andy? Is that part of the art of trapping, is to know where to position that?
For a fox, you want to trap 3 to 4 inches in back of the hole,
Okay.
and maybe an inch off to the side. You're going to catch that right front foot or that left front foot with that little bit of an offset. With a coyote, he's a longer leg animal. You're going to be 6 to 8 inches behind that hole, and
Wait,
off to the
what's in
side
the
maybe
hole?
a 2. The bait.
Okay.
That's the bait hole. We've been talking the whole time.
A dirt hole
about-
set is a hole that you dig in the ground. You put a trap in front of it. You put a bait in the hole.
I thought you were
We
just...
never said what was.
You're all perked up.
We never
we
got
did.
there. No,
We never said. All we said was you dig a hole.
We must have
I
had a
thought-
side topic
I
or a
was
side
thinking
conversation
no,
because
I'm
I know
thinking you
exactly
dig-
about
Well,
dirt holes.
you're an experienced,
And it's only like
you're more knowledgeable about trapping.
the dirt
than
hole is only like a 2-inch diameter.
the
and
average
then it's
walleye
deep.
fisher.
Yeah, we talked about that about 15 minutes ago, Steve.
Like a walleye hole.
So you dig the hole, and that's where the bait goes. The trap goes on the outside of the hole.
nailed it.
Yeah, I got this.
Okay, so are you putting like the baits vary? You say they vary for all different things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's
How-
a wide variety.
Are guys putting like fish carcass
Yeah.
in a hole?
Yeah.
So you're able to do like repurpose some things that would normally get thrown away.
What's the law
Very
in
much.
Pennsylvania? Is it can't be visible from the air?
No
for
exposed bait because of the raptors.
Yeah.
So no bone, fur, or artificial facsimile. So you can't take a synthetic feather and use that as bait. But yeah, no exposed bait on
So you can take a carcass from a previously harvested animal,
Or
and,
gut.
and then that's going to be reused.
Yeah.
So you're like that's what I find amazing from trapping is that you're using the fur is going to be used, the fat that you scraped off the hide, and then even parts of the animal can be reused within to catch other animals.
muskrat legs, actually muskrat carcasses in general. That's a lot of what we use if we're going to bait a set. And then a lot of times what we'll do is we'll dig our traditional dirt hole. You'll take a re-rod stake, a 1/2-inch re-rod stake, and poke a little hole off to the side of your dirt hole, and you'll lure that with. A lot of times it's a gland gland-based lure.
Yeah.
So you have a little bit more appeal there to that spot.
So you're
And that's
covering
just
the
a-
bait then,
No,
No.
the idea that it is below the ground is enough to make that
not visible.
not
in
visible.
the eyes
That's
of
correct.
the-
That's correct.
Game
yes.
Commission.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There is a very popular set called a hay set. Leatherwood
Hay.
uses that a lot. Especially when there is a snow on the ground and you go and take a slice of nice fresh hay and spread that around. You bury a bait or a lure in the midst of that, and then bed traps on either side of that. Usually, you use a bigger trap because you're coming up through all that hay and everything. You don't have a precise spot for the animal to put its foot all the time, so you want to use a little bit bigger trap for that.
Gotcha.
But that's another outstanding set, and your bait's still again not visible.
But you could sort of funnel them into a particular spot, lay some logs down with the hay, and
Very much you can.
all that, right?
There is a definite belief that coyotes will shy away from too much disturbance. So like the more funneling you do, the less apt a coyote's going to be to come into that. But a fresh pile of
makes
hay
sense.
like that's a dynamite set. I mean that really whacks and stacks in the wintertime.
Are you carrying like a bale of hay? Or
Yeah,
are you trying to
absolutely.
gather it from where you're at?
No, we're
Nice.
carrying a bale of hay. Yeah, and a slice per set is perfect.
this is riveting, and I need to ask you a lot about this. I got a lot of
Tell
very
me about
specific
it.
questions, but
Yeah.
what I need to do, though, quick, is get us back into some of this educational stuff that you were talking about. I want to dispel another, like, just myth, I guess, that's out there. Talk to us quick about snare traps. Could I go buy a snare trap and go put one out tonight?
If you were beaver trapping, so no. The only snares that are legal in Pennsylvania are for beaver in the water only, and the snares have to be submerged. I think partially submerged. I honestly cannot remember what the rule is right now, but beaver snaring is the only thing that's legal. What you're referring to is a cable restraint. And that is something totally different than a snare. A cable
Sounds
restraint,
like a snare.
But it's
it
not.
looks like a snare, so guys can really get screwed up on that. But my dad is one of the teachers for that course. It is a pretty extensive course with a test at the end that you show up, you
that's
do
a
the work, you're going to
certification
pass that.
course
But yes,
because
absolutely.
to use a cable restraint in Pennsylvania, you need to be a certified user.
It is designed to be a live capture device for the canines and if you do not adhere to those rules, you're going to kill a critter. You cannot have anything in that entanglement area bigger than your thumb, which is a 1-inch diameter.
Jeez.
The size of the loop has to be a certain. There's regulations for that. Height off the ground, size of the loop. There is a deer stop so that deer can slip out of that. There is a pop off so that at a certain poundage of pressure, the pop off releases. Again, for deer, bigger animals, whatever, dog gets in it, they can muster up enough of strength to get out. So it is a great tool, but we will get that taken away pretty quickly if we misuse it. One of the reasons we got it is we had a champion dog hunter run his dogs on trail right into those things, headlong, full speed on trail, right into those cable restraints, and he would walk up, let them out, and they would get right back on the trail. It is nothing more than a choke collar, a training collar for a dog, if it's used properly.
Right.
So, a great tool to have.
Very cool.
Yeah, but I wanted to make sure we covered that, and I asked the question incorrectly on purpose. I just want to also throw that out.
How wise.
Oh, goodness.
Sure, like I don't know what
purposes. Good on you.
I don't know what the Dahlberg diver is.
Yeah, like that one, right?
Yeah.
It's a good makeup a season and a half later.
So it's a thing I do all the time.
Yeah, it's your
I hope Larry's listening to this episode.
Yeah, vindication for you. Chalk one up for the trash panda.
Let's talk about the fur market and what's going on these days, because that's the ultimate end result of doing this.
Absolutely, that's the end game. The majority of the fur that is caught is sold, and sold multiple times before it's ever made into a garment. The biggest problem we have right now is the economy in Russia and Greece, where the bulk of the fur is consumed. The end results. That's where the garments are sold. They have no economy. They cannot afford to buy the products. China buys the bulk of the fur that comes out of the United States. They are the ones that turn it into garments and sell it to Greece and Russia. That's a cold weather climate. They use it. China has a very unique fashion industry. I've seen some of the stuff that they do with fur, and it's almost unfathomable to me. I can't
like
even.
What?
Different cuts that they do with it, and turn it into purses, and turn it into like really, really wild looking garments. Stuff that I obviously wouldn't wear. But no, they do some very, very unique things. But they just flat aren't willing to pay us anymore.
Yeah.
So for about 3 years now, the fur market, if you want to even call it that, is almost none. If you are a country buyer like Dad is, your hands are tied, because you got guys catching stuff on a nightly basis that come and throw their fur on the floor and want paid for it and want a pat in the back, and he can't afford to pay you. He'll still give you the pat in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll pat you on the back too if you want to stop
Right
over.
Right on. I mean, that's the thing. It's gotten to the point where I'd so much rather trade you for a bottle of lure than hand you cash, because. Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's going to be a market. You're going to be able to sell the best of the best products, but anything that is subpar is just not going to be bought. You can look at fur market reports from North American Fur Auction or from Fur Harvesters, which are national world sales. I mean, there's buyers there from all countries, and the numbers just continue to go down. The Western Coyote and the Western Bobcat are what rule the dollar now.
I just learned that. I just heard about that.
So. They're sick prices, and they are even down from what they were even 2 years ago.
What are those
insane
dollar-wise?
Western Coyotes are selling for a good bit over $100. Now this year they've backed off a little bit. Bobcats, the top lot Bobcats have been selling for near $1,000 a piece.
Wow.
That's a piece.
What's like a Pennsylvania Bobcat? Right?
$35.
Oh my goodness!
Why?
We got to make them great again.
Two questions. Yeah. Why number one is a Bobcat worth that, and why the difference between West and East Coast, other than
the
Location.
eastern bobcat does not have the pronounced spots and the wide belly that a western cat does. Albeit a bigger animal,
Okay.
they just do not have the clarity and the big wide bellies that the western.
quality,
Yes,
if you will.
exactly.
Okay.
And I've had the opportunity to witness those critters from out west compared to ours, and like you pet a Pennsylvania coyote, and it feels like you're petting a German Shepherd. You go and take a North Dakota or a Montana coyote, and it is a cotton ball.
Okay.
I mean, they're just beautiful. They're soft. They're just an awesome critter. And
yeah. We felt them up in Canada.
Did you now,
Yes.
boys?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. A whole whack of them, eh?
Yeah, they had them laid out.
You were
and it was
petting-
just like you said. It's just big cotton ball, big thick tails.
Right.
So yeah. I
That's cool. That's cool. You guys got to see that.
And what they're doing with them in the United States is like all the cuffs and collars on the big parkas like the snowboarders have and everything. That's coyote fur. And that's really what's driving the market. That's one of the only acceptable fashionable things in the United States right now. All the rest of the stuff has just kind of fallen by the wayside. It used to be a luxurious thing.
Yeah.
Now, mink coat was always a luxurious
Yeah.
thing. And through the process of animal rights movements and all that kind of stuff, and people coming out and spray painting you because you were wearing a fur coat, all that has just fallen out of favor.
fashion though kind of goes in and out. I mean,
will.
A handful of years ago, Sean, our cousin, has a fly shop. They made a bunch of coin on the feathers that ladies were tying into their hair,
Yep.
which lasted like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But they made a
That's right.
boatload.
He did. Yeah. He sold a bunch of
Yeah.
dubbing or whatever.
His ship came in on those feathers.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
that's my cousin sells peacock feathers at the farm show.
Yeah.
And that's a fashion thing too. That's a fad thing. It's not going to be as popular every single year, but yeah, it'll come back around at some point.
Yeah.
So your dad is also a local buyer.
Yeah.
So what is your outlets as a trapper to give your fur, to sell your fur as a local trapper?
You certainly have the country buyer level. That's where my dad is. And then if you are a member of the Trappers Association, which if you're a trapper and you're not, certainly I'm going to encourage that. Promote the sport. Promote the furtherment of the sport. You have the opportunity to sell at your district auction. Where we're at here in Lancaster County, you can go to the District 11 sale, which is going to be at the Ono Fire Company this year, the second week in January. You also have the opportunity to either become a member of NAFA, which is a North American Fur Auction, which is a world auction, or Fur Harvesters, which is another world auction.
Pretty much get a hold of your Trappers Association of Pennsylvania or whatever state you're listening, because we have listeners in all 50 states.
Yeah.
And then try to find your regional buyer through that. For like local Pennsylvania, if I'm a trapper, how do I need to prepare the animal for your buyer? Can we bring them in whole? Can we bring them in fleshed? What level of finished product do you need?
My dad would definitely encourage you to just bring it in on the meat so that he can do it and he knows that it's done right. If you are not skilled with a knife, skinning and everything like that, come down, spend a night. Yeah, Stevie, come down and spend a night holding up the walls in the shop and learn how to do this the right way so that you can actually get that $1 for your raccoon instead of 50 cents. If you are going to sell your own fur, you absolutely need to learn how to put it up. And if you're going to send it to NAFA, it has to be a dried skin. You cannot send whole animals there. You cannot send green pelts there. And by green, it wasn't put on a fur form and dried. Okay? They don't accept that. So,
are those all things that are taught at the trappers?
Yes.
Clinics that you participate in?
Yes, they are. A day at our trapping school is a session with land trapping for foxes and coyotes, a session in the water for mink, muskrat, and raccoon, and a quick how-to for beaver trapping, but that is not a hands-on thing because of the potential mishaps with the bigger traps.
Right.
But then we do a skinning session, and we usually have 2 animals every year that we skin. one big, one little, and we show you how to put them up. But not to be biased, but I know my dad would show anybody that walks in the door and wants to know how. Yeah. And I would very, very much believe that there are other buyers out there that would do the same. You guys down in Chambersburg Way, and I think Aaron Ole might have mentioned him, but Trapper Paul, I don't know if that's the same as Paul's Fur Shed, but he's a super cool dude out in Chambersburg Way. I've been buying fur at our district auction for a number of years. I have no doubt that if you asked him what's up, that he would show you the ropes.
Yeah, cool. I just got to learn this, like today, really, that we have a couple furs laying down here, and thanks for bringing those in.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. But there's a whole process that these furs go through to clean them, to make them feel soft. There's no dirt in the nails. Like, they're wild animals, and they turn them into these beautiful relics.
Well, when they're put on the board, on the stretching board, they are kind of stiff, like a hard, almost a cardboard.
Yeah,
I kind of never thought about it. So that's not even, they're stretched, but they're not tanned.
Yeah.
So
on behalf of your country buyer, the quality of the finished pelt starts with your dispatch. If you are going to allow that animal to get bloody and that blood dries in the fur, it is a pain in the butt to comb out and clean up. If you are going to...
Are you speaking from experience?
Oh, greatly, yeah. and if my dad was here, he'd probably be cussing out a few people on air. If you have access to water, you wash that thing off real quick. You can dry out an animal, but you cannot dry and clean out blood and mud that are caked in as easily. That's a major pain, and it's a detraction as far as the saleability if you don't take the time to prepare that. If that would get shipped to NAFA, that would get a grade of no fur value and literally be thrown in the trash.
Wow.
It's also true, if I understand correctly, you get 2 holes, an entry and an exit, without affecting the value.
When you're dealing with an animal that is skin side out, your grease animals, okay, anything that you turn fur side out, like the foxes, the coyotes, the fisher sold fur out,
and that's for drying.
That's a dried pelt up for sale. Yeah. If you have more than 2 holes, it pretty much is baseball, 3 strikes and you're out. With a raccoon or a possum, anything like that is the grease side out. What a buyer is buying is that square in the middle of the back. Okay, especially the raccoons. You get a, let's just say 4-inch by hopefully 20-inch square. That's the money. And if there are defects in that, then there's a detraction in your price.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That makes sense.
I think the biggest takeaway that I hope everybody's getting out of this tonight is that it should be really obvious to you that the folks who are trapping, they aren't just taking this stuff lightly.
No.
I mean,
not at all.
Andy has got to be one of the coolest dudes that I've met here recently. Mm-hmm. So laid back, so just fun.
Yeah.
Loves life.
Sweetheart.
But man, when you talk to him about this stuff,
he's my boy.
It's business.
That's
though.
right.
This is
Class is in session.
He doesn't take any of this lightly.
Let me point this out to you, though, and this probably will drive home a lot. We in District 11 of the Pennsylvania Trappers Association, which is Dauphin, Lancaster, York, Schuylkill, Berks. That is the most densely populated trapping community in the world.
Really?
Get out.
Okay? It is
Really?
statistically, there are more trappers per mile in this area than there are in the world, and yet there are so many people that are not educated about it or have no knowledge of it.
Do you guys have like a symbol that you hold up and you're like,
no,
like District 11?
So sorry to tell you that we don't.
You don't have a secret whistle?
No.
Like a mocking jay.
You should think about that.
I will bring that up.
Bring that up
the next meeting.
Yeah, the next meeting.
Yeah.
Yep. My mom is the
Suggest that.
state treasurer for the
Is she?
Pennsylvania Trappers
Well,
Association.
maybe
My
she
dad
can
is the
pull a
district
few
secretary
strings.
treasurer. So yeah, we'll get that out.
This definitely runs through your blood, through your family. It's incredible insight into your life and your family's life. So I mean, this huge thank you for giving us this information.
I've been
the most serious you've ever been in 3 years of episodes.
Holy cow! It's just
if I kept you awake, I did my job. I mean,
it's just something
cool.
that we don't get.
You've kept them the most awake for any non-fishing episode we've ever had.
We don't get to talk a lot. We don't get to talk to a lot of people about this, and man, it's great to really dive into the nuts and bolts of it. So, thanks for showing up tonight, man.
It was very
this is
informative.
awesome.
We got into the sinew of it.
Yeah, and right down into the
more
sinew.
than nuts and bolts.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
All right, Andy. Again, everything has been amazing. Where can people go first to follow you, to see what you're doing and what you've got going on? Let's start with that. Where can people find you?
Only one outlet of social media, Spittle3 on Instagram. As far as the shop is concerned, that's Spittle Services. That's outside of Elizabethtown on Old Hershey Road. More than willing to let anybody come hold up a wall for a night.
Can you spell Spittle for us?
Spittle.
Right.
You are not going to find that man on the internet anywhere. Dad is just a calm, cool, collected dude that really, there's some time for extracurriculars, but it's business from now till probably the beginning of April.
Yeah, we were joking
shed.
earlier.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
he will not be without a blade in his hand.
No. That's
from now until
That's pretty much the truth. And I'll be down there scraping coon. I mean, that's my thing. I scrape coon, turn foxes inside out, first side out, whatever.
You got a phone number down there?
717-367-2637. Leave a message and just let him know you want to come hang for a night.
Cool.
So he'll be pissed that I said that. So, yep.
But you're gonna learn though.
Yeah. Please join the Pennsylvania Trappers Association. It's no different than somebody promoting the NRA. Another voice and another dollar that is spent the right way. That is something that I care deeply for and want to see, live long and prosper.
Yeah.
Trapping gets a bad rap, and I don't want that.
Right on.
This is awesome. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
I appreciate it. I thought it was going to derail like really, really bad.
No, we don't derail. We're oaks.
We kept Bucky from beaver trapping.
Oh man,
there's all kinds of things.
You had to restrain me from that.
Mr. Kyle.
Hey, Mr. Steve.
Where can they find us?
They can find us at ruttenriverpursuits.com. They can also listen to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Castbox, and Libsyn. They can also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and don't forget to check out our YouTube channel.
Twitter and
YouTubes.
I forgot you guys did that.
Why are we whispering?
We're not sure.
All right. Thanks a lot,
That's
Andy.
awesome.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ring a weedless.
See ya.
Get you some.
Trash
Panda
Panda
Quiver.
Good podcasters podcast. Like, check their pods twice a day.
I probably should.
I went to TU.
TC, buddy.
Trappers. No, it's Trappers
I went to the
College.
University of...
Oh,
You got shortchanged. You didn't get your money's
He had
worth.
some post-grad work.
Well, he
at
had
the university.
started.
He had to go to the state,
got some
state
loans.
school.
You learned,
La-di-da.
Yeah,
you
he
learned
got
from the
some
guys that
loans
only
and
caught 50
grants,
a season.
I started out at Trapper Community College.
That's all I could afford.
Got a couple credits. Don't you worry about this.
I probably shouldn't. It's not my podcast.
We're professionals.
You trap things.
Yes, sir. You make podcast gold.
I have my dirt holes right over here.
I don't even worry about how much editing it takes. That's how it's just.
Yeah.
You just.
We
know, bud.
It doesn't matter. Like it takes what it takes.
I did
and
much better
that's,
back here.
That's my thinking behind it.